It's not working, Kinsey.
You don't know that, Johnny.
Tearing this place apart, but Satan doesn't even seem to...
We didn't come this far to fail.
You think I'm giving up?
We have one less place to go.
What if it doesn't work?
The bus is counting on us.
You think I don't know? How do I burn down a city that's baptized in fire? How do I kill off an army that's dead? Time's slipping away now, and the best plan we've got is just put one inside Satan's head. If roles were reversed, God, I know they'd save me, but all my solutions involve murder sprees.
Welcome back to the channel, folks. Well, we made it. This is it. The end of the original Saints Row timeline. The last stop on a road that started with a street gang fighting for corners in Stillwater, pivoted into running the country and fighting aliens inside the Matrix, and somehow we ended up in hell. Which feels weirdly appropriate. When I started covering the series, I wasn't trying to chart the slow collapse of a franchise. I just wanted to visit a series I never got the chance to experience when it was new. Saints Row 1 laid the foundation, Saints Row 2 perfected it, the third shifted the tone, and Saints Row 4 blew up the planet. Get Out of Hell is more than a standalone expansion for Saints Row 4. It's the epilogue for the franchise, the final punchline to a joke that kept getting louder with every entry. And whether you see it as a fun victory lap, or the moment the series finally ran out of gas, this is where the original Saints Row saga closes the book. No more gang wars, building empires, or taking down an alien armada. Just Johnny Gat and Kinsey fighting Satan, and whatever's left of a series that already burned through every other idea it had. So this isn't a grand finale for the series, but it wasn't a pathetic end either. More like a serviceable epilogue that exists to set up Agents of Mayhem. One that really doesn't justify taking 2 months to release a video on. So let's get into it.
Once upon a time, in a faraway land, there lived a man so exceptional that the divine hosts of heaven and hell were forced to take note. A man dangerous enough to bring Satan to his knees, but selfless enough to make God himself raise an eyebrow. How did this come to pass? Well, it all began at a very special birthday party for a very special young lady.
After the Earth was blown to smithereens and the boss defeated the Zin Empire in the last game, Get Out of Hell starts on a lighter note. The Saints are celebrating Kinsey's birthday. In between the balloons and birthday cake, they get the idea to goof around with a Ouija board. Sorry, I meant spirit board. Don't want to get sued by Hasbro. Like Regan McNeil in The Exorcist, they end up contacting a demon, but it's not Pazuzu. It's the Prince of Darkness, Lucifer. Impressed with all the destruction the bosses caused, along with their actions leading to the destruction of Earth, Satan decides to kidnap them. Why? Because he wants the most evil person he can find to marry his baby girl, Jezebel. So it's up to Johnny and Kinsey to travel to hell, make some new friends, reunite with some old ones, track down the boss, and stop Satan. While I won't critique the premise, after aliens was pretty much the only way to escalate things, unless the Saints spot stronger aliens, or androids, or an android created from the DNA of the Saints that want to revive the World Martial Arts Tournament. To be honest, Get Out of Hell, despite sharing a lot of the same problems as the last game, is harder to critique, mostly because it's a standalone expansion. It's not Saints Row 5, it's not the next step for the series, just a small detour, so I can't judge it as harshly. Especially since it does fix some problems Saints 4 had, but it does feel a little underwhelming. On paper, playing as both Johnny and Kinsey is a pretty good idea. Both are probably the most popular Saints after the boss, and their personalities, Kinsey's slower, more technical approach to problems, and Johnny's more straightforward, guns blazing mentality contrast well. Unfortunately, the expansion story is too shallow to do anything with that dynamic. Honestly, I'm pretty sure this game was originally built around only Johnny, as a good chunk of the missions and cutscenes barely acknowledge that Kinsey is there, which probably explains why playing as either one is mostly an aesthetic choice. They don't have different powers, unique missions, or anything. At most, just differences in throwaway dialogue with NPCs depending on who you're controlling.
Welcome to hell.
Shouldn't you have a receptionist?
Such is the plight of eternal damnation. I have a feeling you didn't come here to catch up. Let's talk in my office.
Upon their arrival in Hell, Johnny and Kinsey will touch base with Dane Vogel, former head of Ultor, now a denizen of Hell after the boss killed him back in Saints 2. Still running Ultor here in Hell, he says the best way to track down the boss is to piss off Satan enough that he gets sloppy and reveals himself. Then we go after him and hope the boss is somewhere nearby. How do we go about pissing off the Prince of Darkness? By causing general mayhem, killing his forces, completing side activities along with helping some old and new friends claim their own little piece of hell. Our besties in New Hades include the Sasha Grey twins Kiki and Viola de Winters, infamous Pirate Emperor Marshall D. Teach, aka Blackbeard, Vlad Tepish, aka Dracula.
What is a man? A miserable little pile of secrets!
And for some reason, William Shakespeare. I've got pretty much nothing to say about them, as they're all fairly shallow as characters. Seeing Kiki and Viola again is cool, I guess, but that's about it. Shakespeare's the only one with any mild plot relevance too, as he used to serve Satan directly, and was Jezebel's mentor, until he was kicked out of Satan's palace for teaching his daughter wild ideas like love, happiness, and being good. I know I threw shade at Saints 4 for parading around old characters for the sake of nostalgia, but this would have been a better opportunity for former characters to return. Imagine if instead of 3 one-off stupid joke characters, Get Out of Hell brought back Lynn, Carlos, and Julius, teaming up with our dead comrades in order to save the boss. Maybe get Johnny's perspective on Julius turning his back on the Saints. Like, I don't think we ever get his thoughts on Julius's betrayal, or the boss killing Julius, outside a tiny mention of it in Johnny's loyalty mission in Saints 4. I realize I'm asking way too much of this series, but you can still balance serious and goofy. The first 2 games did that perfectly. Outside of Kiki and Viola, we do have some characters from the old games that pop up, along with the wrap-up of the series' longest dangling plot thread, in the laziest way possible. But I'll circle back to that later.
But before Johnny set out to wage war against the Prince of Darkness, Dane had one final gift, an artifact that he had spent fortunes on. Lucifer's cracked halo.
Before we can start to rally our new friends to our cause, Dean gives Johnny and Kinsey a powerful gift in their fight against the Prince of Darkness, Lucifer's cracked halo, which gives you the angel wings Satan had before being cast out of heaven. It gives you a super jump and super sprint like in Saints 4, but instead of falling with style, you can actually fly now. Flying is surprisingly well polished in Get Out of Hell, almost comparable to the gliding in the Arkham series. At first you won't get much airtime, but after you pour souls into upgrades, you'll be zooming around New Hades and never have to stop to go airborne again between destinations. There's just something so satisfying flying around New Hades, diving to build some momentum to glide up higher. Flight makes moving around and exploring actually enjoyable. Not like you're just trying to cross the map as fast as you can to skip the garbage in between like in the last game. Flight isn't the only ability in Get Out of Hell, as rallying the other denizens of Hell will unlock new arcane powers. Don't get too excited, as they're all recycled powers from Saints 4, with Blast, Stomp, and Buff, renamed Aura, returning. They do use some new elements, but most are basically the same ones from the last game with a new coat of paint. Like Stone functions the same way Freeze did in Saints 4, temporarily immobilizing enemies or shattering them to pieces. The extra elements you unlock by completing temples across the map, along with the upgrades to your abilities, do make your powers more fleshed out compared to Saints 4. And we do get a power that isn't a reskin of an old one, Summon, which replaces telekinesis. Once unlocked, you can use it to summon an imp to fight for you, and you can summon other types of demons after completing their temples. Each demon has its own set of abilities and functions in combat too, so Summon avoids being a glorified version of calling in your homies. I appreciate that the game gave us something new, but Summon still feels underwhelming compared to Stomp and Blast since they can do more damage and recharge faster when maxed out. While your moveset is functioning the same as the last game, Get Out of Hell encourages you to change your powers now thanks to the enemy variety. Flying demons will shatter and instantly die when they hit the ground by nailing them with Stone Blast. The mage demons floating around have a magic shield that can only be disabled by Blast or a stronger heavy weapon. The little imps that swarm you can all be instantly killed if you use Stomp. Hell, even Aura feels useful now, as the sheer number of demons you'll be fighting at any given moment makes its passive effects a lot more useful in stacking damage. Overall, while your powers are mostly rehashed, they function a lot better in Get Out of Hell compared to Saints 4, since more thought was given in designing the game around them, instead of trying to staple them onto Saints' normal third-person shooting. Speaking of which, let's move on to another thing Get Out of Hell actually put some effort into, its new map, New Hades. While leagues above virtual Steelport, which is a pretty low bar to clear, In terms of design, it's a bit uncreative. New Hades is just a desolate city in hell. It's also the smallest map in the series, and lacks shops to buy clothes, piercings, or tattoos. Like, come on, I know Johnny and Kinsey are established characters, but all the customization options are a huge selling point of Saints Row. Let me dress them up a little, especially Kinsey since she's only rocking a white tank top and jeans. Despite my gripes, credit where credit is due. The developers put in some effort to design the new map around your abilities. Soul clusters aren't haphazardly thrown all over the place. They're set up in a way that tries to avoid breaking your momentum while you're flying around. So, if you've upgraded your flight abilities and mastered the controls, you can scoop up dozens of soul clusters while flying without ever having to stop. Also, you don't have to go out of your way to collect each one you see either, as the game lets you trade wages for more clusters, making upgrading your abilities less tedious. New Hades also changes over time, changing up with how the story progresses and how much you pissed off Satan. Tougher enemies become more common, anti-air tentacle things will try to shoot you out of the sky as you fly through, and a bit of new content unlocks too. And there's a decent amount of side content, though it hasn't quite shaken off the problems side activities have had in the last two games. It's not much, but it's still a huge step up compared to the snooze fest that was Virtual Steelport. That said, New Hades, and by extension the game as a whole, does have one fatal flaw. It's stupidly repetitive.
Here's the deal. If you want some FaceTime with Satan, you need to get his attention. Now, Satan hates being challenged, so anything you do to undermine his control is good. Fraud, mayhem, shooting demons in the face, anything. You can keep track of Satan's wrath with this handy meter. Get it high enough and you'll be having drinks with Big Red in no time. I've compiled a list of shit to do, so take a look and do whatever sounds fun. Oh, one more thing. We have some potential allies down here. Trust me, you want to impress them.
Unlike the previous games where you had main missions you needed to complete in order to advance the story, Gat Out of Hell has almost no story missions. Instead, you have to fill up Satan's Wrath meter, which will automatically play a cutscene once you hit certain milestones. The bulk of the content for the game is side activities, and not much else. Even with the game's short runtime, it's still so repetitive. There's a little more variety at least, but man, does it result in the expansion having like no impact. So let's get through the side content, wrap up the story, and bring this video to a close. First, a batch of returning side activities that are slightly tweaked or renamed to fit the game. Fraud Tormented Souls need you to ragdoll a condemned husk off of cars in the environment to rack up a high score. Blazin is now Hellblazin. Fly around with your new wings to collect orbs within a time limit. Cause tons of destruction and mayhem, and in survival you'll have to take out 3 waves of increasingly tougher enemies. To my surprise, the new side activities they added in actually aren't half bad. In Salvation, the goal is to collect souls before they're sent off into oblivion. There's a big focus on speed, flying around to catch souls before they hit the ground, and using an arcane blast on the ones floating up. The more souls you save consecutively, the higher your combo score. Salvation is pretty fun, and does a solid job combining your new abilities to create a new activity. In the side activity Extraction Facility, you'll raid Satan's soul extraction buildings. It's where he strips the sins of the souls who enter hell before they're tossed out into the street of New Hades as husks. Inside each facility are 3 control points you need to stand in long enough to capture, while fighting off Satan's forces. But you have to capture each 3 fast, or the demons will just reclaim the control points from you. It's essentially domination from Call of Duty, and I dig it a lot, since there's an actual challenge that expects you to balance running around the area and taking out demons as fast as possible. Altars require you to take out waves of spawning demons in order to unlock a new element for your arcane powers. Finally, there's Marshalling Grounds, which is similar to Saints Row 4's Hotspot activity, where you had to disable shields and a main controller to take over an area. Here, you disable multiple control stones, then fight a tough archdemon that spawns. The Marshalling Grounds you take over will then act as fast travel points you can instantly teleport to, which feels a little pointless, as the map is so small and you can fly so fast that it makes fast travel redundant. Oh, and remember the whole Dex storyline set up way back in Saints Row 2? Quick refresher, but Dex was a member of the Saints back in the original game. We teamed up with him to take down Los Cardinales. By finding some secret tapes in the police station in Saints Row 2, you learn that after Julius disbanded the Saints and blew up the playa, Dex dropped his flags and took a job working for Ultor. While he doesn't physically show up in Saints 2, he does set up a trap for the boss and Julius to wipe them both out. Dex pops up again in Saints Row 2's Corporate Warfare DLC, where you have to protect an Ultor CEO from being killed by him. He'd escape at the end of the DLC, and his storyline would have come to an end in a canceled Saints Row spin-off. Since Saints Row III pivoted hard from the first two games, Dex's fate was left in the air, with only vague mentions of him since. Well, Get Out of Hell was determined to close the book on that plot point in the lamest way possible. Dex, like everyone else who was on Earth when Zinyak blew it up, is dead and in hell. But he isn't working for Satan as his right-hand man, or working for Dane Bogle, the guy who hired him to work for Ultor. He's just a husk who will periodically spawn onto the map over the course of the game. Then you just go hunt him down and kill him like nothing. Every time he reappears, he doesn't get stronger either. Just has a few demons flanking him, but that's it. Honestly, I wasn't all that invested in the Dex storyline, so I'm not really all that bothered with this half-assed ending to it. I'm more surprised the developers cared enough to do anything with it. There's other side content I didn't go over, like runes you need to track down to open chests containing legendary weapons, but overall there's plenty to do in Get Out of Hell. But that's all it really has. Unique missions are rare, and the story is almost non-existent outside of some cutscenes. It's less a standalone expansion and more just regular old DLC comparable to Corporate Warfare, or your run-of-the-mill content pack that adds some new weapons. As for the game's story, like I said, there's barely anything there. After your arrival in Hell, not much happens outside of Satan's reactions to your antics. Learning that his daughter Jezebel doesn't want to marry the boss, doesn't want her dad controlling her life. She sneaks Johnny into Satan's palace, and the Prince of Darkness realizes Johnny is a better fit for his daughter. He offers to free the boss and send them back home with Kinsey if Johnny agrees to marry his daughter. There's a musical number randomly thrown in too. And the final mission has Johnny storming Satan's palace to stop him once and for all.
Hey, Satan! You want to get out of here?
I can't believe that worked.
Occam's razor.
Playtime is over, Mr. Gat. Save them if you can.
I love weddings.
Which results in a stupidly long final boss fight. I don't know if there was an obvious trick I was missing, but Satan is spongy as all hell. Pretty good boss fight otherwise. He hits hard, teleports around the arena, and you can only heal yourself during the phases when he summons his flunkies to fight you. Satan defeated, the boss, Kinsey, and Jezebel end up back on the spaceship with the rest of the Saints. As for Johnny, his actions in slaying the Lightbringer has earned him an audience with God. The Almighty also gives Johnny a choice and reward, which determines the ending of the game. Ending 1 has you reunite Johnny with Aisha in heaven. In Ending 2, you can crown Johnny King of Hell. In Ending 3, the Saints find a new planet to call home and start over. In Ending 4, God tells Johnny all the answers of the universe. Spoilers, there's only one answer. It's 42. 5, God reboots the universe and brings back Earth, which doesn't ambiguously set up the Saints Row reboot like I thought, but instead creates the Agents of Mayhem universe, where Johnny, Kinsey, and Matt Miller are all cops. And finally, if you did all the optional side content and took over 100% of New Hades, you'll unlock a secret ending, where your reward for defeating the forces of evil is a golden Keanu Reeves statue. And that was Saints Row Get Out of Hell. Welp, that sure was a way to kill 4 hours. Definitely not worth the amount of time my lazy ass took to complete and release this video. In retrospect, I really should have just added it to the end of the Saints 4 video. Get Out of Hell feels like what Saints Row 4 should have been, a game that introduced new ideas and was built around those new ideas, instead of just lazily tacking them on to Saints Row's existing framework. Unfortunately, it's just an expansion. I got this game for like $2 years ago, and on release I think it retailed around $20. So what it offers relative to what they're charging, I'd say I got my money's worth, but it's still pretty lackluster as an expansion. On top of building on the framework of the game they're attached to, expansions introduce new elements to shape up the core gameplay. A new area and enemies to fight, along with an interesting story or new interesting characters that make it memorable. Gat Out of Hell falls pretty short in all of those points. It's an improvement over 4, sure, but it's so stripped back and bare bones compared to high quality expansions that came out before it, like Dead Money, The Shivering Isles, or episodes from Liberty City. And this expansion serves as a finale for the original Saints Row continuity. I doubt that was the original intention, and I'm sure Volition just wanted a break from the series while they got to do something new with Agents of Mayhem. The fact it felt like actual effort was poured into the game makes me believe the developers really wanted to turn Saints Row around. I know I have a bad habit of doing this, but I can't blame the developers for how things played out with this series. Game devs are at the whims of their publishers, or out-of-touch corporate heads. The pressure from the top is why we end up with rushed, broken games at launch, or underwhelming gameplay mechanics. A combo of THQ going under, Volition getting acquired by Koch Media, which then got acquired by Embracer Group, killed any chances to turn things around for Saints Row. Embracer's terrible ideas are what killed Saints Row's second chance with the reboot in 2022. Maybe the developers did set out to be more ambitious with Gat Out of Hell, but didn't have the time or resources to do so. To sum up my thoughts, Gat Out of Hell is fun, incorporates the superpower idea much better, and has enough content in its short runtime to justify its price tag. Still, it's pretty unremarkable, just a footnote in the decline and eventual death of the Saints Row series. And that's the video. Thanks for watching, folks, and special thanks to my channel members and patrons, including Alfred Correa, Augie Doggy, Bailey Morrison, Brad Taylor, Chris Gore, Eric Lee, Gonkdroid the Critic, Kerr Guardians, Lucas Caballero, Luke Minter, Skillfuse, SR Powa, Thunder Muffin, and Reckless Nerd. So, sorry this video took over 2 months to come out. I beat Gat Out of Hell the weekend after the Saints Row 4 video debuted, but it didn't really grab me like I hoped it would, so I ended up procrastinating on getting the video done. I've also been trying to get through my backlog and got caught up playing Resident Evil Requiem, and Pocopia surprisingly enough. Also Pragmata, seriously good game. So I'm going to vet certain games first before committing a video on them, or just stick to covering games I've played and know are certified bangers. Which is why my next video is on Resident Evil 5. With a couple of callbacks to it in Requiem, combined with some random discourse surrounding the game, now felt like a good time to hop back into it, and the Resident Evil series. My RE4 video is like 4 years old now, back when I had under 1,000 subs. Check it out if you're interested. It's not all that great if I'm being honest, but you can see the skeleton of what would become my review style. After that, who knows? I still intend to review the Saints Row reboot, and I'll suffer through Hitman Agent 47 if I can figure out how to get it to run properly. But I want to cover things that I like to keep me motivated creating content for the channel for the time being. There's a whole list of games I discussed covering ages ago, and still haven't gotten around to, like Kane and Lynch, Ghost of Tsushima, or Horizon Zero Dawn. My replay of Final Fantasy VII Remake on Switch 2 has got me itching to do a video on it too, but we'll see how things go. Again, thanks for watching, folks, and thanks for sticking around during this weird transitional period for the channel. I finally get to work from home a few days out of the week, so I'll have more time to work on videos again. Also, some of you may have already noticed, but I paused channel memberships and my Patreon. I really appreciate the support of my members and patrons the last few years, but I don't want you guys waiting around for early video releases or uncut videos until my release schedule is normal again. Once again, thanks for watching, folks. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like and comment down below. Which Saints Row game is your favorite? Is Agents of Mayhem worth making a video on? And if you're new to the channel, I would really love it if you subscribed. Well, I don't know if we'll hit that milestone this year. We're getting closer and closer to 100k subs. It would be great to finally get that silver plaque. Check out whatever the recommended video is here at the end. I'm FuzzySlippers, and I'll see you later. Peace.